Economic value is not the same as emotional value. One ordinary economic value explained version is that a family photo may be priceless to one person but almost worthless in a market. Markets measure what others are willing and able to trade for. Personal meaning and economic value can move in different directions. The pattern in economic value explained is easier to handle when the first signal is noticed instead of dismissed. A careful response starts by noticing how a family photo may be priceless to one person but almost worthless in a market. Connects to personal meaning and economic value can move in different directions. Value depends on usefulness. Consider the moment when a bottle of water is more valuable on a desert road than beside a kitchen sink. Use depends on situation, need, and alternatives. The same item can change value without changing physically. The answer in economic value explained is usually found in the cause, not in the label people attach afterward. That is the point where economic value explained becomes a real decision rather than an abstract idea. Scarcity raises value when people still want the thing. Economic value explained becomes clearer when a rare concert ticket becomes expensive when many fans compete for few seats. Limited supply matters only when demand exists. Rare does not automatically mean valuable. Once the cause is named in economic value explained, the response can fit the situation more closely. The safer move in economic value explained is to test the facts before acting on the first impression. Willingness to pay reveals value in markets. In economic value explained, notice when a buyer choosing between two phones shows what features matter enough to pay for. Preferences become visible through choices. Prices collect many private judgments into one public signal. The link between those pieces is what makes economic value explained useful in real life. In this situation, prices collect many private judgments into one public signal is the part that usually creates the real consequence. Value changes across people. A familiar economic value explained example is when a wheelchair ramp may be essential to one tenant and irrelevant to another. Needs and circumstances shape usefulness. Markets contain many different valuations at the same time. People often feel pressure around economic value explained before they can explain where it came from. A careful response starts by noticing how a wheelchair ramp may be essential to one tenant and irrelevant to another. Connects to markets contain many different valuations at the same time. Value can come from saving time. In economic value explained, the real-world version may be that a delivery service may cost more than shopping in person. Convenience has economic value because time and effort are limited. People pay when the saved hassle is worth the price. This is the detail that changes what to check next in economic value explained. That is the point where economic value explained becomes a real decision rather than an abstract idea. Risk affects value. It shows up in small moments, such as when a house with legal uncertainty sells for less than a similar clear title house. Future problems reduce what buyers are willing to offer. Uncertainty becomes part of the price. Noticing that driver early can keep economic value explained from becoming harder to manage. The safer move in economic value explained is to test the facts before acting on the first impression. Information changes value. Look at a case where a used car inspection can raise or lower the price immediately. Buyers pay differently when hidden condition becomes known. Knowledge turns guesses into more accurate valuation. The headline alone does not show the whole chain behind economic value explained. In this situation, knowledge turns guesses into more accurate valuation is the part that usually creates the real consequence. Value is not always equal to cost. A concrete version is when a handmade table may cost a lot to produce but sell for less than expected. Buyers care about their benefit, not only the seller a euro's effort. Cost explains supply but does not guarantee demand. The background force should guide the next decision in economic value explained more than the first reaction. A careful response starts by noticing how a handmade table may cost a lot to produce but sell for less than expected. Connects to cost explains supply but does not guarantee demand. Brand can add perceived value. In a normal day, two similar shirts may sell differently because one carries trust or status. Reputation reduces uncertainty and adds identity meaning. Buyers may pay for the story surrounding the product. In Economic Value Explained, the clearer reading follows the cause instead of stopping at the visible result. That is the point where Economic Value Explained becomes a real decision rather than an abstract idea. Value can be created by organization. Picture the situation where raw ingredients become more valuable as a prepared meal. Coordination, skill, timing, and service add usefulness. Production often transforms inputs into something people prefer. The moment becomes easier to handle when the moving part is named clearly in Economic Value Explained. The safer move in Economic Value Explained is to test the facts before acting on the first impression. Location changes value. The clearest version is when a parking space near a crowded office has more value than the same space in an empty lot. Access and convenience shape demand. Place can be as important as the object itself. That mechanism explains why the topic affects real choices in Economic Value Explained. In this situation, place can be as important as the object itself is the part that usually creates the real consequence. Value can be temporary. In Economic Value Explained, someone may notice that umbrellas sell faster during sudden rain. Urgent need changes willingness to pay. Timing can create short bursts of value. Seeing the cause early gives people more room to respond well in Economic Value Explained. A careful response starts by noticing how umbrellas sell faster during sudden rain. Connects to timing can create short bursts of value. Markets compare alternatives constantly. Watch what happens when a streaming subscription competes with movies, games, books, and savings. Value is judged against other uses of money. A product loses appeal when better alternatives appear. In Economic Value Explained, the visible event can distract from the driver that needs attention. That is the point where Economic Value Explained becomes a real decision rather than an abstract idea. Public goods create valuation problems. Economic Value Explained becomes concrete when clean air has huge value but no simple checkout counter. Some benefits are shared and hard to price individually. Markets may undercount value when payment cannot be easily captured. When Economic Value Explained appears in real life, this is the detail to check first. The safer move in Economic Value Explained is to test the facts before acting on the first impression. Labor has value through contribution and scarcity. For example, a skilled nurse, coder, or electrician solves problems others cannot easily solve. Pay often reflects demand, training, risk, and replacement difficulty. Wages are shaped by more than effort alone. In Economic Value Explained, this is the point where the visible choice and the real pressure start to meet. In this situation, wages are shaped by more than effort alone is the part that usually creates the real consequence. Value can fall when abundance rises. In real life, a crop surplus can reduce price even if the food is useful. Buyers have more options and sellers compete harder. Usefulness remains but market value declines. That is why Economic Value Explained should be read through facts rather than a quick assumption. A careful response starts by noticing how a crop surplus can reduce price even if the food is useful. Connects to usefulness remains but market value declines. Economic value is discovered through exchange. Think about how offers, bids, rent, wages, and prices all test what people will trade. Value is not announced by wishful thinking. It is revealed when choices meet constraints. For Economic Value Explained, the important move is to notice the chain from first signal to final effect. That is the point where Economic Value Explained becomes a real decision rather than an abstract idea. Mistaking value for price can mislead. A simple economic value explained case is this. Something cheap may be highly valuable, and something expensive may be a poor fit. Price is only the market signal at one moment. The real question is what benefit the thing provides compared with its alternatives. That sequence explains why economic value explained can grow even when the first moment looks small. The safer move in economic value explained is to test the facts before acting on the first impression. Economic value explained needs to be understood through a specific real-life case. Economic value explained appears when economic value is the meeting point of usefulness, scarcity, demand, risk, and alternatives. It explains why the same object can be ignored in one setting and fought over in another. Understanding value helps people judge purchases, wages, assets, and business ideas more clearly. The early sign matters in economic value explained because it can change cost, trust, timing, or emotional meaning. In this situation, understanding value helps people judge purchases, wages, assets, and business ideas more clearly is the part that usually creates the real consequence.